So last week I did a gigantic closet clean out and I decided to get rid of like literally half of the clothes that I own. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to show you guys the behind the scenes of how I take photos, how I make listings, how I ship and fulfill those orders. Whether you guys are just getting rid of a couple used pieces of clothing in your wardrobe or you want to start a business selling vintage or handmade clothing, I hope that this helps you guys out. So in order to make my modeling more efficient, I always start by sorting my clothing that I'm gonna shoot into categories. So like here I have jackets, then I have a bunch of shirts. So that way I can just try on top after top after top and I don't have to change out my pants. Or if they're jackets, I know that I could keep like a neutral shirt and a neutral pair of pants on and just swap out the jackets. So it minimizes our total amount of changing. Over here I have my dresses and skirts, which I also sort by length. So first I have my mini dresses, then I have midi skirts and midi dresses, and then I have maxi dresses. And this is because in order to photograph those different lengths of clothing, I'm gonna have to move the camera. So I wanna minimize the amount of times I have to move the camera as well and reframe everything. So first I just have one set shot that goes up to like my thigh for all of my mini dresses. Then I move the camera back and I can shoot my midi dresses. So the camera will probably cut off around my ankle. And then I'll have to move it all the way back and get a full body shot for my maxi dresses. Honestly, trying on your clothing and modeling it does turn into a lot of work. So I really like this system to streamline everything when possible. So here is how I set up everything to take photos. Obviously over here I have my rack of all the clothing I'm gonna shoot. Then next to it, I have my camera on a tripod. I always like to shoot my photos near a big window so that I get a lot of natural light bouncing off and my photos look nice and glowy. To get the highest quality photos possible, I do like shooting them on my DSLR. I know this is fancy, so not everybody has it. You could totally also take these on self-timer on your iPhone. Let me actually show you real quick. Okay, what I used to do with my phone was to grab a stool or a chair or a tabletop, whatever you have that's kind of waist height. Then you put a box or a basket on top of it. Then you can place your phone on your little pseudo tripod. And you can kind of just adjust the angle of your phone against this basket to get a flattering angle on yourself. Then you can obviously do self-timer, take that photo, take a step back, strike a pose. And there you go, an extremely flattering self-timer photo of yourself. Okay, anyways, back to my DSLR. What I do is I put it on self-timer mode and I have it take 10 photos, one every 2 seconds. I find that that gives me just enough time to strike a couple different poses, have a couple unflattering photos, but I'll still end up with around 3 or 4 good ones that I can use for the listing. I also set my camera aspect ratio to be a square since all the photos on my website are squares, and if you're selling on something like Depop or Poshmark, you're also always gonna want your photos to be cropped to squares anyway. So as you can see here, everything is pre-cropped to be a square, which is really nice because I can figure out my composition, I can figure out what's in frame, and I also then later don't have to edit every photo individually on my computer and try to crop it manually. Alrighty, let's take some photos. So for every piece of clothing, I try to get 4 basic angles at least. A front shot, a side shot, a back shot, why does that sound so sexual? And a close-up where my head is cropped out and you can kind of see the item of clothing in more detail. And then occasionally I'll also throw in like a fun pose to change things up if I have a couple extra photos left on the self-timer before it runs out. For some of these tops, you just have to like shimmy your bra straps to make it work because it takes way too much time to change into the proper bra for every single top. So, you know what? You can't see it in the photos, it works. As you might begin to notice here, I tend to strike very similar poses for each piece of clothing, since the more you do this, the more you figure out what your best angles are, and it becomes almost like an automatic motion. If it's a top like this that I would style a certain way, I like to take one photo with just the top plain and simple so people know what it looks like normally. Then I'll like tie it up, tuck it in, tie it in a knot, all of that styling stuff so people have an idea of like how to make it look cute and how I would prefer to wear it. No matter what, I always tilt my shoulders and hips to add a more dynamic feel to the photo rather than just standing straight up and down, which can look a little bit stiff. I also usually try to figure out a way to occupy my hands, whether that's holding them gracefully at my crotch like so, putting one in my pocket, playing with my hair, or just kind of flailing them about. It's always an art trying to put a turtleneck on and not smush off your makeup. I have emerged relatively unscathed. If it's a black top like this one, I always want to make sure that I shoot it with some colorful pants, not a black or dark gray pair, because the color of the top is going to blend in with the pants and it'll be like really hard for the customer to see where exactly the top ends and the pants begin, and it just won't pop as much. So it's nice to have this contrast. After about half an hour, all of my tops are done, and now it is time to tackle the dresses. What's this little... This is how short my bangs are now, by the way. I really overdid it. It was bad. Just gonna adjust the tripod so it fits the bottom part of my body more. So it's a very similar process with dresses. I do a lot of poses like with my hand on my waist or playing with the skirt of my dress, so it kind of gives some movement to the shot and exaggerates the hourglass figure that I don't really have, but let's pretend like I do. Sorry, I need to stop making self-critical jokes about my body, like that is such a base form of humor, and I should encourage people to think about their own bodies positively as well. Working on that one. Anyways, I'm finally done. It's 8 o'clock right now. Oh, I feel like a potato. So right now I am just importing all of my photos onto my computer. Now I used to go through each photo individually and edit it in Lightroom, but honestly, it just got to be too much work. And oftentimes if you try to put too strong of a filter on your photo, people just get confused what color the clothing is, and accuracy is really the most important thing when you're selling something online. So I'm just gonna import them and put up the raw files on the internet. So I list everything on my Squarespace website, which this is what the back end looks like. But essentially the listing process is exactly the same as if you use Depop or Poshmark or any of those apps. I just choose 3 to 5 of the best photos of the item. I include in the description the size, the brand, the condition, definitely noting any flaws, and then any other kind of like quirks about the item, like maybe the sizing runs big or it runs small, or it's a sweater that's a little bit itchy, just so people know up front what they're buying. Sometimes if I am feeling a little bit extra, I'll like add a little styling tip or what type of event something would be good at, like a picnic outfit or a lounging around your house having an existential crisis outfit. I don't know, those are really the only 2 activities that I do, so.
And you're terrified somebody's gonna stick you in a cage. Maybe you're already in that cage and built it yourself.
All right, it is around 8 p.m. the next day, and I woke up at like 9 a.m. today, and I've been packing orders all day. You guys ordered so much stuff, which I am so grateful for. I sold out of everything in like a couple hours. It was crazy. I just realized my sweater is buttoned wrong. I think you guys know this about me, but I don't have like an assistant, an editor, basically anybody to do my bitch work for me because I am my own bitch. So I am about 11 hours deep into packing orders, and we're chugging along, folks. I don't know how exciting any of this is to you guys, so I thought I would just show you like the very short version, which is essentially that I like to segment my steps like I'm in an assembly line, except it's literally just me in an assembly line. So the first phase consists of weighing my items on a kitchen scale and creating the shipping labels online. So when it comes to creating your shipping label, you have 3 main options. I don't know how interested you guys are in like shipping logistics, but this was something that really confused me early on when I was trying to figure out how to sell clothing, so I'm gonna talk about it for a second. So the first option, if you're selling on an app like Depop or Poshmark, is to just use the app's in-app shipping label creator. How many times did I say app? Too many times in one sentence. Basically, apps like Depop have an option where Depop will create the label for you. You just have to enter the weight, and then Depop will email the completed label to you and you can print it out. So this is the most convenient, but it also is the most expensive since these apps overcharge a little bit for their shipping. So that brings me to option number 2, which is what I used when I sold on Depop and even in the early years of having my own website, which is PayPal's online shipping label creator. It's a little bit more time consuming because you do have to click through individually for each label and create your own, but it'll save you $1 to $3 per label compared to those in-app shipping services. So it really does add up, and in my opinion, it was worth my time. And then option number 3 is what I use right now. Basically, I signed up for something called ShipStation, which integrates with Shopify and Squarespace stores. That is so many S's. Basically, it automatically creates shipping labels for you, which saves you time, but it also gets you a discounted rate on those shipping labels, so it saves saves you money as well. However, there is a monthly subscription fee, which runs from like $9 up to $100 depending on how many labels you're creating in a month. So I really only recommend it to people who are either doing like a huge closet clean out, or you run your own business so you're getting orders every single week. Anyway, that is my whole spiel. Sorry if that was boring as hell. Moving onwards. Once I have all of my shipping labels printed, I write a little thank you note on each invoice for the customer. Then it's time to commence the packing phase, in which I, as the name would suggest, this is very self-explanatory. I'm packing up my orders, I'm attaching the labels. Yes, I'm doing this on the kitchen floor because I ran out of space in the rest of my apartment, because my entire apartment at this point was covered in packages of clothing. I had so many orders to ship. And then I put the finished orders in a box, and hopefully they will all be done by tomorrow morning so I can go to the post office. And that is pretty much where we're gonna leave this video. Overall, I shipped just over 100 orders of clothing, so seriously, thank you so much again to everybody who bought something. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful for anybody who's looking to sell their clothes and give them a new home. And I will see you guys next week.
I just want to stop.